Ryan.
Welcome to the 2022 GRCC Board of Trustee Candidate Forum. I'm Dr. Frank Connor. I am the President of the Faculty Association of Charities at College Department. I want to point out that while I am here representing the faculty, I'm actually here, this is two groups that are part of this forum. I represent the Faculty Association, but historically, this forum has also included Academic Governing Council, which is the college's shared governance model, and also Student Alliance, which is the student government model. And because of logistical reasons, those other two groups couldn't be here, but the questions and presentation is representing all three of us. The format for today is very structured, given the amount of time you have and the number of candidates. Each candidate will be given an opportunity to respond to a prompt where they tell us essentially why they want to run, and I'll make this structured. There will be three structured questions that everybody will answer. The candidates do have the questions in front of them. They just received those a few moments ago. I will, however, repeat the question, and I will then call on individual candidates who will give their answers in random order. So for each question, I will ask you to speak. There will be a structured amount of time for the first introduction question, which I will read in a moment. You will have 3 minutes each. I will have a timer. And based on past experience, you will become very anxious about time because you don't have enough time. The first one is 3 minutes. The next three questions are 2 minutes each. If we have enough time, we will be making a question from the audience. Do the candidates understand where we're headed? So, the first question, which you will have 3 minutes, and it will be in this order. Now, Brain will answer first, Kathleen Brunswell second, David Cucci third, and then Salvador Lopez fourth. So that is the order, but I will repeat and call you out as we begin. So, now Brain, the first question. Please provide an overview of your work and educational history, your reason for running for the Board of Trustees, your philosophy of higher education, and rationale for why you would best serve in this role.
All right, thank you, Frank. Somebody start the clock, 3 minutes, a lot of information in a short period of time. First of all, let me say I'm very excited to be part of the GRCC board. I'm excited to be the vice chair of this board, and I'm just frankly excited to be associated with this college. GRCC is a well-respected educational institution that continues to be the jewel of West Michigan. I'd like to continue to work towards ensuring the college is affordable and accessible to all of West Michigan who wish to attend. The college is one of the community's most valuable assets. I'll talk a little bit more about that later. And my background and diverse experience can possibly contribute to the GRCC board. Second, I'm a very proud resident, almost lifetime resident of West Michigan. I grew up here. My wife and I have chose to raise our family here, and I have been committed to this community for a very long time. In fact, I was the first student representative on the board back when it was part of GRJC. Some of you remember those days. If I am elected again as trustee, this will be a great opportunity for me to get back to the community that I love. I continue to be impressed by GRCC, the administration, the faculty, the staff, and students, and I want to help GRC shape the future of Western Michigan. As a trustee, I have over 25 years of legal, business, and board experience in college. Last, I bring additional business perspective to the board. As a business person, I understand that GRCC is an excellent tool to train and support the workforce of the future. Without a strong and effective community college feeding the county with talent, businesses will not have the skilled talent pool for our continued growth for the business sector. Many people don't understand how important GRCC is to the economic growth of this community. I do. In fact, I think we all do. Kent County is an award for talent in the world. The more educational and training opportunities we can provide to the community, the more attractive of an area we will be. So with that, thank you very much.
You have a minute.
I got a minute, all right? The more attractive we will be. We want West Michigan to thrive as a community, and the college is helping us do that. GRCC must provide students with tools to build successful careers, obtain good-paying jobs, become future leaders and/or entrepreneurs in our community. And I thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you. I was probably do this as a kind of prompt you for a minute, 30-minute questions, 30 seconds, and 2-minute questions. So, same question, Kathleen Brunson.
Good afternoon, I'm Kathleen Brunson. I am a practicing attorney here in Grand Rapids. I represent small and medium-sized businesses in contract, procurement, and trade company copyright matters. And I have a bachelor's degree in political science, and I have worked over my bachelor's degree for a couple of years in city government, and I've got my law degree, and I've been practicing law ever since. I'm actually also a lifelong learner. I have kept up, I have a passion for the French language, and I have kept up my learning of French since I started taking it at age 11, and I'm very proud of that. So I'm a lifelong learner there. I also have taken courses on public relations and leadership, despite the fact that I'm born and practicing attorney. So my philosophy of higher education is that, number one, it's where we develop our citizens. It's where we develop our community members. We instill curiosity, critical reasoning, and then also skills. And the skills that we equip our students with are the skills that build our communities from communities of the future. We also are developing employees, and that's essential for our economy, that's essential for our businesses. But I like to go first to the fact that we are developing citizens for our communities. I am well suited to the trustee role because of my passion for the mission and the values and the work of the institution. I think that the community college serves a broad swath of our community in a way that few institutions do, and I think it is an asset because of that. I appreciate the fact that it is a public good and it is delivered with as few barriers as possible in institutions like that. And I also have an eye for detail, which I think is essential to this role because the board governs through its written policies. Thank you.
David Cucci, same question. Yeah. I'm Dave Cucci. I have been on the board for completing one full 6-year term, and prior to that I was appointed for, I think it was about 1.5 years. So I've been on the board for 7 years. I'm a retired K-12 educator. Most of that time was serving in educational leadership positions. Why I'm running for the board? So that question was asked of me almost 7.5 or 8 years ago. Dave, how would you like to be involved at Grand Rapids Community College? I wasn't sure why I said yes, but I said yes. I got into it, and for me, this is the professional sweet spot for all of those values that are near and dear to me. Values of why education, values of looking into the eyes of, it used to be young children, now at this level it's older children, adults. And helping those older children or adults work towards dreams. And in some cases, adults have lost all of their dreams and giving them an opportunity to find those dreams. So for me, I'm proud to be associated with Grand Rapids Community College. I wear the Spirit stuff. I'm asked, are you on staff there? I have to apologize. Well, no, I'm just a board member at Grand Rapids Community College. So I found this place to be a place that is incredibly hard to dislike. So I want to serve the board because I also know the power of what happens when board and senior leadership align themselves. I've seen organizations where that alignment has taken place flourish. I've seen this place where the alignment has taken place flourish. And for me professionally, it's a blessing to be part of that. I understand good governance. I understand good leadership. Since my retirement days, I now serve as a leader development coach for senior leaders, both inside and outside of education. And I see just good things happening here. So, in summary, I've loved every minute of this experience. I'm proud to be associated with this college. This college represents so much of what's valuable to me, and I'm looking forward to serving yet another term.
And Salvador Lopez.
Thank you, Dr. Connor, and thank you everyone that is here. I appreciate you taking the time to be here to listen to us and to learn a little bit more about us. Again, my name is Salvador Lopez. I am currently the president of K-Connect. I have a lot to say as to why I'm here, and it starts with opportunity. My family immigrated to the United States from Mexico prior to me being born. I grew up in Salinas, California. I'm a first-generation college graduate, and it doesn't happen without GRCC. GRCC was the only place for me after high school. After I graduated from high school in Grand Rapids, this is the only place. I did not have options for many reasons. Some of them systemic, some of them having to do with me moving here when I was in high school. And this was the place that gave me the opportunity to launch what was my educational career. My philosophy, higher education, in some ways can be simplified in open access, having opportunity for all students to be able to go and pursue whatever career that they choose to, regardless of their background. My family is close to the values as far as how I feel about the institution: integrity, respect, inclusion, diversity. All of those values stand to me at a personal, professional level. If it was not for GRCC, I don't go on to GVSU to continue my education. I don't go on to get my master's degree. I have a background in higher education in terms of employment. I worked at Grand Valley State University for almost 8 years, worked very closely with students, traveled for years to various places in Michigan, including Flint, Detroit, Chicago outside the state. Developed programs that helped all students be successful in higher education. So those are a few of the examples that I would give. I'm also currently the co-chair of ALSAME, or Advocates for Latino Student Advancement in Michigan Education, where we promote higher education at the state level. I believe GRCC holds a lot of the values that I highly respect. It's a place for me of pride. I look at this place and I see my home, away from home when I first got out of my home in Grand Rapids. And so it's a special place to me. Governance means a lot to me at the systems-wide level. Currently at K-Connect, we focus on systems and how they're all interconnected to help all families and children be successful. And we look at closing disparity gaps from prenatal all the way to career, all of which impacts GRCC and the bigger ecosystem. So I'll stop there because I could go on for a while.
Thank you. The next 3 questions, you will have 2 minutes each, and they're directed questions, and they will be in different order. So for question 1, the order will be David Cucci, Kathleen Breitzma, Salvador Lopez, and then Kenyatta Brain. So I will, again, read the question, and then we'll remind you who is going in what order. So question number 1. To create context, we are living in a time of social upheaval. Science is under attack. Public and systemic acts of prejudice and discrimination are being exposed on a regular basis. A worldwide pandemic has killed millions of people and continues to disrupt our daily lives. The ability of our government to legislate for the common good is in question. What do you see as the role of GRCC in addressing some or all of these issues? Mr. Cucci.
So education runs a lot deeper than preparation for what I do as an adult? What do I do for my living? It's much deeper than developing just these skill packets that help me turn myself into a revenue stream. Education is about wondering and asking why. Education is about not so much what we think, but how we think. Education is about creating a culture of thoughtful people. So as a career educator, I find myself using language like, I'm in the business of creating critical mass of people who understand the importance of fixing what's broken. And I'm not talking roads here, although it could be roads. I'm talking attitude, I'm talking understanding. I'm talking barriers that stand in the way of people living fulfilled lives. So I don't know how that fits into mandating masks or no masks. I don't know how that fits into legislating good, but I think it does. I'm sorry.
30 seconds.
But I think it does fit. Because underneath the umbrella of all policy that is generated, my hope are thoughtful people who have other people's best interest in mind. That's the role of this place, to be part of that education enterprise that develops thoughtful people.
Kathleen Reinsfeld, same question.
To answer this question, I actually would refer back to my board member comments I made, I want to say in January or February of 2021, after the January 6th attack on the United States Capitol. I think that event, to me, it made me pause and think about what our role is, what this institution's role as a public higher education institution in many of the things that are going on in our country right now. And I think that the things that come to mind that I raised then that I'll raise again now are truth. What is a public post-secondary institution's role in getting to the truth and encouraging our students, our staff, and our faculty to pursue the truth? Civil discourse. As an academic institution and an institution that is rural and urban and represents the wide range of opinions in this region of our state, how do we model civil discourse, real discourse? Lots of people in the same room who disagree but talk to each other like human beings. Critical reasoning as an educational institution. We have to equip our students to be able to take information in and determine whether it is based in fact or wish. Exposure to diverse opinions. Diversity is a value here at this institution, which is great and important. And then our responsibilities to each other.
Thank you. Salvador Lopez.
Dr. Connor, I want to hit on part of the question, which included public and systemic acts of prejudice and discrimination are being exposed on a regular basis. We know that the pandemic has exacerbated or made it look a lot more clearly for some of us as to some of the issues that exist that affect some folks more than others. Historically marginalized people from underrepresented backgrounds, people from low socioeconomic statuses. We know that in Kent County, roughly speaking, about African American families make about 50 cents per dollar compared to white families. We know that it's about 60 cents per dollar for Latinx families compared to white families. We've known that this has existed for a long period of time prior to the pandemic, and it's only exacerbated today. I spoke a little bit about my background and my access to GRCC. Well, my parents are limited English proficient individuals, and they took limited English proficiency classes here at GRCC. It's one of the ways that my parents were able to access more opportunities, access more jobs, and really attempt to close the wealth gap that they themselves had as first folks that first immigrated into this country. I believe that GRCC has a responsibility with access to help close some of the disparity gaps that are mentioned in your question here. A lot of that has to do with folks that are battling generational low income inequalities, people from rural areas as well, folks that we often don't get to connect directly with. I believe as a county and as an area, GRCC can impact those communities with more access, more opportunity. I believe in that mission, and I only think it could only get better.
Leslie Kenyatta Bryan.
Thank you. I think this is a very complicated question. One of the things that my parents have always encouraged in me is education. My parents grew up in the segregated South, and so that was one of the means for them to get out of poverty and become successful long term. I think about the schools that I've gone to, my liberal arts education, my MBA, my law degree, have all impacted me significantly. And when you look at those schools, all those schools had specific values that they thought were important, and they try to have their students leave with those values. If you look at the values of the community college, I think those values are significant. And if we have students coming out of this institution with those values, we're going to be able to address some of the issues that the other board members have addressed. I mean, so our values are, diversity and excellence and accountability. Those are the things that make us better citizens. They make us challenge some of these concepts that you've described. If you come to this school and you see excellence in women and people from different religions and people from different colors, all of a sudden it breaks down a barrier that you may have had because you've never been exposed to that. Just like the workplace, Grand Rapids is a very segregated community, so people usually go back to their homes and look at people just like them. But when you come to this community college, that is not the case. You're going to run into some wonderful and diverse individuals, and it's that exposure, I think, allows us to address some of the issues that we're fighting and seeing in our community, and this college allows that to happen. This is a deep place for dialogue, when you can have these type of discussions, talk to different people, and that's the way you break down some of these barriers that you described.
Thank you. The next question will be answered in this order: Kathleen Bruinsma, Salvador Lopez, David Cucci, Kenyatta Bryan. Please describe your understanding of policy governance and the role of a trustee in the daily activities of the college. Within this context, how would you respond if a member of the community came to you with a complaint about the content of a class or a college policy?
Policy governance is, I always start, we are on the balcony, we're at 30,000 feet, and we set through our policies the parameters within which the executive, who is our only employee, can work. And the parameters, as we set them, are the goals of the institution, the values of the institution. We approve the strategic plan, we approve the budget, and then we evaluate the president on an annual basis. And as we're doing now, we hire the president. That is how we, at 30,000 feet, govern the institution. We should not be involved in the daily operations of the institution. However, we do need to know what the daily operations are and what's going on, because we need to know whether the values we're setting and the strategic plan that we approved is being made manifest in the day-to-day operations. The day-to-day operations indicate to us whether our values are being met and whether our strategic plan is being carried out.
I'd like to acknowledge that Kathleen's response is not only eloquent, but also the way that I'm sure a lot of us feel, just because when I was appointed to be a trustee last year, That is exactly what I heard the role included, a 30,000-foot view. And so I'm not going to repeat all of that because I 100% agree with all of that. But as it relates to how someone maybe would approach me and ask me these questions, I've been in the community now for 18 years in different capacity, from having a healthcare background to nonprofit to higher education. And that means that you're out and about a lot, and so you meet a lot of people. And if someone was to come up to me based on the example and ask me that particular question, that would mean to me that they have trust in me. I've provided that kind of space that they feel comfortable asking me that question. And my first thought would be the individual and the person. One, listening, and bringing that back to our number one employee, which in this case is the president of the institution, potentially discussing it with my peers who sit at the board level. But my first thought is listening, empathizing, and making sure that I take that message back to whoever needs to receive it.
Thank you. David Cucci.
One of the assurances that this community has is that not only do the four of us understand what policy governance is, our other three trustee colleagues understand what policy governance is. That makes our work, more focused. It develops more synergy between us and our leader. We all understand that we have one employee, and that's our president. You as college community don't need to fear that as soon as your critic runs to a trustee, that trustee is going to use comments like, "Let me take care of that." We know that how inappropriate that is. We know we've got practices and policies that help define how we listen and how we respond. So just to underscore Salvador and Kathleen's, we have one employee. We have our ears open. We try to get a sense for what's going on. And your concern or your complaint to us, if goes anywhere, would go to the president for the president then to deal with it in whatever manner he or she would feel appropriate. So our job, we set the banks, we set the broad expectation, and in some ways we don't get out of the way, but we get out of the way. We can all list historic examples where boards meddled into day-to-day operations, and that doesn't go very well. So we all have a good understanding of what policy governance is.
Finally, Kenyatta Brain.
I think this is one of those questions where we are all aligned and we're just building upon the previous answer, so I will try not to repeat what you've just heard from the three previous candidates. But when I first joined this board, I wasn't familiar with John Carver. So this was relatively new to me. This is something that this organization trains its trustees to understand. It's been with the college for several generations, and so the board understands what it means. Just at 10,000 level, I call, policy governance, it's about accountability. And what is the board accountable, and we understand what our responsibilities are. And you may have other boards that want to, I'll call it, meddle in the day-to-day operations. Our goal is not to do that. But we are representatives of the community. We all have contact with the community. We all hear concerns about the community. No one here is saying that our job is not to listen or to understand or to be a voice for the community, but there's a specific way that we do those things. So if I get a call from somebody, I will listen to them. I'll say thank you for that information. In this case, I talked to the president of the college and say, this is what I heard. It is not my responsibility to do an investigation. It's not my responsibility to go figure out what's going on. It's not my responsibility to make sure that their concern is addressed immediately. It's my concern to pass on that information to the appropriate people in this organization. And with us, as everyone has indicated, we have one employee, one individual that reports to us as the president. And I will make sure that he or she understands what I've heard. And if I have a concern, I make sure that I express that to him. And we can talk about it among the peers. We're peers. We can talk about it among each other. But our job is not to talk about it with the administration.
Thank you. Last formal question. And the order for this question will be Salvador Lopez, Kenyatta Brain, Cucci, Kathleen Brinesma. As an elected official, what do you believe those you represent want most out of Grand Rapids Community College? And how would you, as a member of the board, communicate that need to those who work at the college? Salvador Lopez.
I think members of the community want Grand Rapids Community College to continue to do what it's done so well for many years, and that's continue to be an open access, affordable institution for the community, specifically around Kent County, but even beyond that. And that is what I hear when I talk to a lot of folks. I recently ran my first 10K, and I wore proudly the GRCC logo in front of my t-shirt. And over again, people would just say, GRCC, you know, and that pride that I feel wherever I go, I take that to heart and I bring it back here. And I highly respect folks and their respect for this institution. And I look to carry myself that way in any decision that I would make related to GRCC. It's guided by the mission and the vision and the purpose of this institution that is much larger than me. It's much larger than anyone in this room. It's student-centered, student-focused, but also understanding that faculty and staff that work within this institution are student-centered and student-focused, and they also need support. And so I suspect that the community at large would want the college to keep doing what it does best. And I highly respect this institution, and any decision that I make or time that I spend with the board is to honor that. And so that's the way that I view it. Also, to be a good example to my 7-year-olds that I have at home, integrity, respect, and honesty is something that I sit with.
Thank you.
I think very well said. I think that, first of all, the community wants us to live our values as an institution. We've all talked about what the different values that we have. I think that as an organization, our faculty understands the values. I think our faculty tries to hold the organization accountable to that, and us as well. I think that the community understands the value that the college provides. It's an opportunity to get a certificate or get an associate degree or to move on to college. I know many people who are attorneys that started off here. I know people who are doctors that started off here. This is a jumping off point for many people in our community, and that brings value. I'm Executive Vice President at Cascade Engineering, and this is one of our partners, right? And so we look at the work that this community does. We feel the pride when federal government officials show up and come to this community college because all the stuff that we're doing. We look at all the grants we are able to achieve. We look at all of our programming. We look at all the things. How many times has the governor come here? The lieutenant governor, somebody on the cabinet. It's because we are doing what we need to do to make this college effective. And I think also that we want to make sure that we have access. The middle college program. We talk about equity. I think that is a phenomenal program where you could be in high school and get almost 2 years of college at no cost to you. Financial means is a barrier for thousands of people in this community. And we have multiple programs that break down that barrier so you can graduate with 2 years of college. And if you want to go on to get a graduate or an undergraduate degree, you're halfway there with very little money out of your pocket. And I think this college is about trying to make everyone in our community successful and providing access to as many people as possible.
So your question says something about what is this community, how does this community express its needs to us? And I might be hanging around the wrong people because all the people I hang around with only want to talk about all the good things we're doing. I rarely hear, you ought to be doing this more, you ought to be doing this more, you ought to be doing this more. And I think what's happening is is we have a growing workforce development program that continues to get more and more and more and more attention. I'm hearing of more and more companies that are coming to us to do their training rather than doing it on their own, and that's only going to expand. While that's going on, the schools I'm most familiar with, the schools that rarely would take any pride at sending kids to Grand Rapids Community College, are now showing that Grand Rapids Community College is its third or fourth largest in terms of number of graduates coming here, because those kids are looking for pathways to a four-year institution that's expedited, that has some equity attached to it, that's less expensive, that's rich, and all of a sudden we have these two arms of this institution that are keep growing, growing, and growing. So the people I talk to only marvel in all the good things that are going on around here. So it's easy to bring those messages back to the Board of Trustees.
Thank you. And lastly, Kathleen Miles.
So I would put the people that we represent, that I represent, into two categories. The first is the student constituents who use the institution. What I understand they want: accessible, high quality, affordable education. The second pool of constituents would be our community constituents, and I think what they want is for us to help build talent that will contribute to our community, our businesses, our nonprofits. But our community also wants us to engage in the issues of today. And the issue that immediately comes to mind for me is when George Floyd was killed, I had numerous people asking me at the end of May and at the beginning of June, is Dr. Pink going to say anything about this? He's a recognized leader. We are an academic institution. And the way I went about conveying that, and the way I go about conveying that, is by, this harkens back to question 2, bringing it to the president's attention, and then following up with the president to make sure that the issue was addressed. And in the case of Mr. Floyd, Dr. Pink issued a statement.
Thank you. We have a brief amount of time remaining. Those are the structured questions. And so we have an opportunity, if anybody from the audience wishes to ask a question. If you do, please come forward, state your name, your position at the college or community, and ask a question of one candidate or all. Please understand their responses will be quite brief, as we only have about 5 minutes left. Seeing there are no additional questions, then we will end the forum now. I want to thank all 4 of you for attending and spending your time here. Hopefully the folks who are watching virtually, which I know there are quite a few, and those who will watch before the upcoming election, found value in this. I can tell you, as representative of the faculty, Academic Governing Council, and Student Alliance, we very much appreciate your time with us, and I found your answers to be honestly quite positive and enthusiastic, and makes me happy to be here. Thank you.
Thank you.